Welcome to this episode of Tales from the Museum. Today we're going to talk about a special artifact we acquired recently. Now you might wonder why we have a drawer full of toilet paper rolls, but in fact that's not what these are. This is actually a record. I'm sure most of you, if you know anything about records, know about vinyl records, which are back in popularity again. You may have seen an old 78 like this. And in fact, nowadays, most people use this to access their music. But in the early days of the phonograph, cylinder records were actually one of the first types of records produced. So this fitted on a cylinder. Music is recorded in the grooves here, and then you had a needle that came down, and while the cylinder turned, the needle moved across and played that. As you can see from the photograph here, this is Thomas Edison. Edison was one of the first developers of the cylinder records in the 1890s. But by 1905, 1907, the flat records, the 78s, had become popular, and the cylinder was really kind of dying out. But Edison stubbornly hung on to the idea of the cylinder records and wanted to be loyal to those cylinder customers he had, so he kept producing these. But instead of having a small unit with a horn, which was the speaker system, coming outside, he now made them enclosed in the case. And he created a harder, newer cylinder. The originals were made out of a softer wax, so these are a much harder one with a plaster of Paris filling, and they were called Amberola or blue Amberola records, so they would last much longer. They also played 4 minutes when the others only played 2 minutes. So that was his technology to try to keep up with the changing technology that was happening in the record industry. Didn't really work out in the long run. He did produce several Amberola machines, but eventually around 1915 the last one was produced, and after that they began to fade out, and of course the flat records won out until they were replaced by cassettes and now downloads. So what is an Amberola then? So this is a 1915 Amberola. It's called an Amberola after the Amberola record, and Ola for the internal horn. There's a big horn. You may remember, you've seen the old pictures of the dog looking in the big horn that magnifies the sound. That horn is inside of this. So that's what an Amberola is. So would you like to hear it play? Good. It's all run by mechanical power. There's a crank over here on the side. It's set to play at least one cylinder. We'll wind it up a little bit. This turns it on, so the power starts, and we drop the needle, and let's hear a song about the doggone blues. So that's one of our new acquisitions, the Amberola. Probably will be in our permanent exhibit when we get that done. We won't be playing it very much, obviously, because that would wear it out. but we will probably make a recording or two of some of the actual playing. So think about it, 1915, so over 100 years ago when this was produced, and these records go back that far and maybe even a little bit further back. So you're hearing sounds from a whole different century. There are so many things in the museum, so many different tales to tell. Until next time, I'm your host, Jim Collette. Everybody's ready for some